Hi there, it's Kevin with the Rogue Deck Builder here with this week's episode of the Market Monday. On a Monday. It's been a while since we did one of these, mainly due to the fact that I have been a busy person trying to get things organized for the holidays, and there hasn't been a lot to talk about. There has been, but in all honesty, I've been kind of bummed about the direction that Magic the Gathering has taken as far as the oversaturation of products and what it's caused, kind of the local game store model. If you want to see a lot of my ranting, you can come over to the Gone Rogue Game channel. I talk about it extensively there. And it has really bit into me creating content for this channel, as I don't often play Magic the Gathering the ways that I used to, rogue deck building, and also don't really engage in the market as much as I used to. But I think we are seeing a page turn, especially with Ixalan, showing that the market is a lot stronger than any of us anticipated. And that is an absolutely awesome sign going forward, is how well Ixalan's done. Now again, Ixalan has hit the kind of holy trinity of a Magic the Gathering set. It's been very good for Commander. It's been a fun limited environment, as well as it has just absolutely warped Standard and Pioneer. And so sales are being driven by people actually needing a lot of the utility, the cards contained in it, and it also did have the chase cards with the Mana Crypt and the Caverns of Souls that people have been, wanting, these expensive reprints. And so it really has just been the perfect set. And it's crazy because we just came off Wilds of Eldraine that also had a, not to the extent that Ixalan has had in those factors, but it also did kind of hit that holy trinity as well with chase cards from the Enchanted Tales as well. I mean, it's something I don't think they can continue to do as far as, but it's proven to me that they don't need to put the chase cards. So I think that Ixalan and Wilds of Eldraine would have sold just fine, even if they didn't have those slots in them. But anyway, that is a discussion for a different video here. Today we're going to talk about just the overall market and some things have been on my mind. And it's just it's a wild time to be in the Magic the Gathering finance world with, on one end of the spectrum, you have a really, really hot market with Ixalan. And on the other end of the spectrum, you see this. Now, I highly encourage all of you to go over to the Rogue Market channel and see the companionship video to this one as I go over the current sales at the distribution level and talk about how, most of these aren't even worth it to even, bat your eye at, because you can still get them on, the Facebook marketplaces, the eBays, the TC players for cheaper than I can get it for distributors. And it just shows you the overall weakness of the market when you have sets like March of the Machine, which I think was an incredible set with that Multiverse Legends slot in it. And you can even see the Wilds of Eldraine is selling way below distributor price now. And in fact, the Wizard of the Coast is blowing it out for their dino-sized drafts. And I'm not going to get into too much here on this video. I'm not even thinking this might not be the more meatier market video, actually might be over at the Rogue Market today. And I'm just going to kind of give you a little bit of my perspective of what's going on right now in the Magic Gathering world. The short answer to that is overprinting. It is just, if anything wasn't a clear indicator to Wizard of the Coast that they are overprinting, it is now with this hot Ixalan set. And unfortunately, I think they're going to continue to print Ixalan into this hotness. But this just goes to show that they just have too many competing products, and they continue to have to either push the power creeping or the reprint creeping to even begin to budge if they're going to replicate a thing like Ixalan in the future, which I'm thinking they're going to want to. Now they had Eldraine though, and then Eldraine though, look at it, it's down now. Are we going to see in like a month Ixalan go back down to the prices of the Wilds of Eldraine? And Wilds of Eldraine was incredibly hot comparatively to the sets that were before it. And it's crazy because it looks like Wizard of the Coast goes like hot, cold, hot, cold, hot, cold with set releases. And it's very, very, I guess they did have a bunch of stinkers in a row during the Innistrad days, and even through Dominaria, March Machines, Aftermath. Those were some pretty crummy sets, Dominaria Remastered. But in all honesty, they weren't though. That's the thing, that they've just continued to. Now with Ixalan, they're even setting the bar even higher. That it's both like a refreshing moment that, wow, Magic the Gathering is still hot. It can still actually sell incredibly well and get people excited to play, brew, build decks, and it's still robust. And Ixalan's actually got people out again and going to tournaments and whatnot. And we'll show some data for that here in a second. But at the same time, now they've set a bar that, how are they going to replicate Ixalan? How are they going to make a set with Mana Crypt? They don't have any Mana Crypts left to put in products like Ixalan, and how are they going to power creep like they did with Ixalan? Because Ixalan has just been crazy with a bunch of these cards that they've added there. So what I like about Ixalan too is not only they have, of course, the Discover mechanic that's just gone through the roof and just warped Pioneer, and it's just people have done some crazy things with it in Commander. But there are some of these kind of like generic cards that we typically see in slots, like Tishana's Tidebinder and the Roaming Throne, that also, I mean, these are rares that are selling for close to $20 a piece. And so it's crazy that cards like this are still incredibly expensive. I mean, we have, Get Lost, which is, I believe, an uncommon, right, for $4. I mean, a lot of these cards are just, selling through the roof, that are just kind of they're glue in the set, like these just good cards that are selling for higher than they think they would. And I'm thinking that the Ixalan might have been cracked by the mass box openers. I know my pre-orders were incredibly low for Ixalan. In fact, I had so many people saying they're just going to skip this set. They're going to skip the set. So many people saw what happened with Eldraine and like, oh, I just don't want to. What if I get into Eldraine and then it's going to be cheaper than I bought it a week later? I'm just going to wait. And that was kind of the mentality that everyone's going to wait a few weeks. And now I think we're seeing these prices really reflect people skipping the product. And now basically everyone's like playing catch up, trying to like, oh well, I need these cards. And it's just caused just an insane. And of course, this is the set that falls on the Black Fridays and the Cyber Mondays that have incredible volumes of sales because of the discounts of places like eBay and TCG Player. But all in all, this has been a pretty refreshing sign for Ixalan. But again, what are they going to do with the future? How are they going to move forward with the murders at Karlov Manor, the transitioning over to play boosters, which we'll talk about in a second, and how are they going to replicate that? So it's pretty crazy here. If you can see just how much this Ixalan has affected the format. It just absolutely destroyed Pioneer over the weekend with these geological appraiser combos. So basically, they, of course, pushed the envelope with the Discover. I think Cascade wasn't good enough last time around that they did Discover, thinking that this is a fixed version of Cascade. And with the geological appraiser, it's pretty crazy with it being able to basically just get to 4 mana, and then you have a board state of a ton of dinosaurs out, as well as some of the decks will give them haste through cards like the... there's a couple ones that do. This one doesn't seem like it does go haste. It's just trying to get out a big board state. But there is a lot of these decks that have just... I think they said like 40% of the meta was this Discover, kind of the Discover combos between the Quintarius combo as well as the 5-color combo. And not only that, but there was also this little 2-card combo gem that was released, which is the Amalia, and the Wildgrowth Walker, which is just the most 2-card combo. You just need to have a way to get it going. And that's also just really added a new deck to the meta for Pioneer that is something that is very, very competitive. And breathe new life into that kind of these Abzan Collected Company toolbox that used to be reserved for Modern. And it's crazy to see that Pioneer, I mean, Cascade and Abzan Toolbox, Coco decks, that was like Modern a couple of years ago. And we've gone full circle now. It's almost like they created the Pioneer format so we didn't have these kind of like 2-card combos, turn 3, turn 4 decks, and didn't have like these really super busted Cascade mechanics. And now that we're back to square one of where they've created these. So again, I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing for Magic. I don't know what, like, Wizards can never get straight with what they want the vision of their game to be. And again, that Pioneer was just it was another reset of like, okay, we have some mechanics, we have some interactions we don't want to exist. We know we're better at design now. And it's kind of hilarious that now it's back to where we are. So anyway, where was I going with this video? With Ixalan, just selling through the roof and creating just a very, very hot market. Another thing that I was surprised to see too with just the TCG players is a lot of this type of product was actually selling. And the thing is, like, now it actually seems like distributor price is starting to be competitive with the TCG player mark, because that is through the Amazon dumps, which are rumored never to happen again, are going to be replaced with distributor dumps, which will hopefully trickle into the mix a little bit easier than just massive quantities going out on Amazon or big box sellers and whatnot. And it should fix a little bit of the stability of the market, where supply and demand can have a better time, finding that happy medium of where they should be. But anyway, I was surprised to see just the amount of movement on all of these products. Like if you kind of click on any of these are available, by the way, if you are a patron. I will have this kind of cheat sheet for the holiday sales that you can kind of click on and compare and contrast between the T-sheet market price and what I can get it from distributors. But anyway, if you click on this, I was surprised to see like most of these actually had pretty good sales. This is actually the one that didn't. There's only a couple bucks sold. But most of these I clicked on had like quite a good jump between eating up some of these super cheap versions of these products, and then like a week ago, these going for $83, and now they're going for $96. This kind of seems to be the theme across the board. So holiday sales are starting to make up a lot of the ground of the overprinting and the oversaturation, which again is very, very refreshing. Looking forward for Magic the Gathering. Has a long ways to come, and a few things I want to propose that I touched on a little bit in the other video, that I think Wizards of the Coast, they need to realize they can't have their cake and eat it too. And what I'm making that reference to is the secret layers and lists specifically. And I'd even throw in master sets. And so what they're doing right now with Magic the Gathering, which I think is stupid, is the list I think is absolutely nonsense. I don't think that the list really adds any sort of value into people's perspective of when they are deciding to buy a pack. How many people are looking at the list, which changes every set, by the way? How many people are actively looking at Caverns of Ixalan, the list, and determining whether or not they want to buy a set booster based upon the contents which are in that list? Nobody. Because nobody knows what's in it. No one really cares. You have to really dig deep if you want to see what the updated list is. You have to search and kind of crawl through some of these posts by Wizards of the Coast to see an actual concrete. A lot of the websites have given up trying to figure it out too. And like there used to be EV websites to try to factor in the list, and like, well, who knows? Maybe the list is worth, 30 cents or whatever value towards a pack. We're not even going to give it the time to try to figure it out. And so if that's the percent, why do they have it? Like everything in a product should justify its position in there. It is messy for draft boosters now because they used to be in set boosters. So, they just would put in these weird cards. Like you have things like Emrakul's have been in the list. Gristlebrand's have been in the list. Some really busted cards like Channel have been in the list. And so I can see like a pro tournament happening when someone gets this insanely busted list card and it just warps things. And maybe they'll have to make at that point they'll have to make an errata and be like, okay, list cards are not available. And if you get a list card, it has to be replaced with like a random uncommon or something. Who knows what's going to happen with that going forward if it does warp the format. And so not only does it affect their gameplay, but no one really takes it into account when they're purchasing the product. So why do they need to tap into their quote-unquote reprint equity for something that no one isn't taking into account to begin with? So I think that the biggest issue right now we're having with Wizards of the Coast of consolidating products and reprints is basically the list. That's the biggest one. Secret Layer, I get why they do it, as these unique art and styles that Wizards of the Coast definitely wants to go direct to consumer, tap into the market. I still think it undercuts their strategic partners, which is a slap in the face to anyone that invests in their kind of structure or partners up with them to run their events, because they don't typically get a piece of that pie when they go the secret layer route. And a lot of times secret layers do also destroy the secondary market, which a lot of stores rely on, because it's one of the main reasons to carry Magic the Gathering is that secondary market. And so, but it isn't nearly, in my opinion, as bad as the list. And now with master sets are, as we saw now with Commander Masters and now with Ravnica Remastered, which, by the way, has the most dismal sales of any remastered sales. The pre-orders were absolutely horrendous across the board. Distributors are basically saying it's their lowest that have been pre-ordered. It's just nobody has any faith in Ravnica Remastered, especially with the reception of Domineer Remastered. That there's just no Wizards of the Coast has a reprint problem. And it's just to the point that no one seems to, something has to go. And in my opinion, they're going to have to make a decision. I am under the kind of the camp that I would actually like to see more master sets and remaster sets, and get rid of the list, get rid of secret layers, and get rid of the slots like Enchanted Tales in the standard sets. Because if Ixalan's proved anything, or even Eldraine has proved anything, is those slots are unnecessary. And even March of the Machines, those slots are really unnecessary to sell a set. That maybe they should focus on the mechanics of the set, and they should really just try to push out and create formats, create a standard environment where new cards could actually have an impact on those formats to where people will actually desire them. Or, new cards will go in commander decks and things like that. And that way they don't need to really weigh heavily on these reprints to try to sell the sets. And they can use those for future things like a remaster set, which I think would be a great idea. I think I'd have some great plans for remastered sets. And for master sets in general, because I think they do create fun limited environments. They create potentially good, like conventions or events to showcase these kind of what ifs this card was paired with this card. And there's a lot of potential fun to be had, entertainment to be had with remastered and mastered sets that I think that they justify their slots in that reprint ecosphere more than things like the list or secret layers do. But anyway, I'll just give you my little plan right now of how I do that. So of course, they've introduced the play boosters, and before I go on to that, let's just go over pricing, because we do have pricing for the play boosters that has been released. And of course, distributors are it's crazy because there's actually quite a bit of spread just between distributors on how much these are going for. And excuse the tippity tappies if people can hear it in the background. And now Buttons is throwing a dish back there, my dog. As I forgot to close the door, so now they're coming back to see what I'm chatting about back here. But anyway, so the distributor pricing for play boosters is going to be $120 to $130. Is going to be the distributor price, and so that's right around. Well, it's actually an increase of what set boosters are right now. Like set boosters were $105, so that actually is potentially that's a pretty big increase. But there is 36 packs instead of 30 packs, and the biggest striking thing I have with play boosters now in this new how they're releasing them is that puts it at $3.33 per pack, give or take, for a play booster, which means their MSRP to them should be between $5 to $6 per pack, and the boxes should be if they are still going to traditional MSRP markups of 40%. You should be looking at like they're shooting for around $200 a box is what I think like Wizards of the Coast was looking for to sell. Now, of course, nothing in Wizards of the Coast or in Magic the Gathering has ever come close to MSRP. Even the best selling sets now don't ever go above MSRP. Everyone is just absolutely losing their minds about Ixalan. Like stores are like, oh my gosh, you can actually make money off the set because it's selling for like what $260 right now for collector's editions, when it costs stores between the low 180s to high 190s to buy them. So I mean, even in the scope of things, those aren't the best markups. But anyway, get back to the pricing. The collector's boosters and commander decks haven't changed, so you're still looking between 110 and 120 for commanders, and the low 190s to actually it does look like collector boosters have increased. Because I have my notes there, the lowest is 195 and the highest is 205. And that is a little bit higher. I don't have all the distributors info in at the moment, though. So that could go down because there are some distributors that are very more competitive on collector's boosters especially. But the striking one is bundles. Bundles had a massive increase from about 20 to 28 was what bundles used to cost, to now they're going to be between 33 to 35. So that actually puts them between $3.6 and $4 per booster pack. If you go the bundle route, which I'm kind of head scratching because that's a big increase from what bundles are now, comparatively between set boosters and bundle, which do contain set boosters. So I'm wondering if bundles are going to go back to 10, or if they're going to stick at 8, or if there's going to be something there that changes the bundle prices. And then they have something like the Clue Edition. Does anyone know what's even in the Clue Edition? But that's a specialty product, so those are going to be going for between 42 and 45. But anyway, yeah. So back to what was even going with this whole play booster discussion. Oh yeah, my whole plan of how I'd fix Magic the Gathering, how I'd release Magic the Gathering so that you'd have a good ecosphere of utility and people playing it is, first of all, they really need to get back to organize events. And they need to do it instead of being like this is the problem with Wizards of the Coast. They started when I got back into the game. Everything was ultra competitive. All roads led to the Pro Tour. It was like that was the whole thing, and there was this whole kind of mindset. There was this whole culture of competitive Magic. I mean, that was the goal. And there was very little casual, there was a lot of casual, but it wasn't something that was showcased. And then 2015-ish, 2015 and 2018, Wizards of the Coast did like a big switcheroo. It's almost like they were embarrassed by their competitive program. And they're like, we're not even going to support this anymore. And we're going to do what they call Magic Cons. They got rid of the Pro Tour and did Magic Fests. That was with Magic Fests. And they really leaned into Commander. And they basically throughout their whole competitive scene. And my whole thing is, why does it have to be an either or? Why can't they are a big enough company with enough resources that every set should be trying to hit all of those demographics hard. And there should be a pro tournament with every set release, with every remastered set release, with every specialty set release where people can brew with the new cards, maybe make fun, interesting formats to do so, and put prize on the line for people to figure out those formats. That way it won't be like the same old Pioneer Modern. I mean, they could make an event that was like block constructed or something to get people really excited about using these cards. And they should also still do the Magic Fests. And so with the product releases, of course, I'm one of the people like, yay, get rid of draft and set and combine it into one. It shouldn't have ever split to begin with. And how I would release it is same thing with remastered. How what I would do is I'd actually get, like, I don't like collector boosters. I think they should be incredibly limited if that's the case, because they're still the best way to get the most value. And if they're supposed to be collectible, not utility, you should be paying a premium anyway. And so the expected value should not be out the door on release for a collectible. A collectible should be a premium product that's going to take a while to make it worth it, in my perspective. And the thing that people should be pushed towards is buying these play boosters, and that's where the value should be. And I think the collector boosters would still sell if then they would just kind of limit their supply of them and not flood them like they do now. But I know in a shrinkflation kind of event, that's the way that they're really looking to go. They make the best bang of their buck for collector boosters. It doesn't really cost them much more to print a collector booster than it does an arena starter kit, which they sell for $6 compared to the $150 to $200 that they get for a collector booster box. But anyway, how I would release it is, first of all, which I think that if they were going to create an ecosystem where stores, if they never want to go back to this MSRP, sure. If they never want to go back to having competitive field for local game stores to justify running their events, sure. The one thing they should do then is kind of go the Pokemon route and really do a release schedule where it goes to WPN first and then goes to big box stores. And so the ecosystem that I would do if I was the Coast is I'd have a pre-release with only play boosters. That's the only thing there. Like, I was so disappointed in our Ixalan turnout. Our Ixalan sales were actually really good. I mean, I'll just be straight up about it. It was decent. It was a lot higher than I expected. Looking at our, the people that signed up for our pre-release, I thought we were just going to get absolutely pummeled with Ixalan sales like no one wanted, but that wasn't the case. What happens when Wizards of the Coast started to allow all products to be sold at pre-release is people just come in there and get their collectors, they come in and get their commanders, they come in and get their set boosters, and they leave. They don't play in the pre-release. And so something I think that would build up that hype, like every set should be this massive, like this, it should be all building towards an eventual big event and so they should start teasing it at the local game store with play, like the play booster pre-release event. And then, so that's week 1. And only thing that's available is play boosters for drafts and sealed events. And then the next week is when they can release the collectors and the commanders, and they should have commander events. And it should be very focused around standard play with your new cards, or Pioneer Modern, constructed play, and commander play for the casual players that want to play commander and get that. And that's where that should be focused around. Okay, now you can get all of your supply. So the supply is limited with just event kits, pre-release kits for week 1. And then week 3, so that's week 2, and then week 3, they should release it to the big box stores and the Amazons, and everyone else at that point can get their fill on going into the open market. And what that would allow is the excitement to build up for weeks, and not to where the point that we have now, where people are just they get everything. I mean, it's like a kid eating all his candy on Halloween. They just gorge it all on that week 1, and then they're just have a stomach ache and can't even look at the set afterwards because they've been overindulged that week. And then Wizards of the Coast has to hurry and come up with another set. And it just creates this like vicious cycle of trying to keep people's attention. So then after week 3 or 4 or 5, that's when I think they should release the remastered set. And in my opinion, remastered set should only be draft boosters / play boosters, whatever they want to do for that ecosystem. And it should be showcasing the mechanics. It should be what set boosters should have been, which is printing a card that has a new mechanic and pairing it with a card from the plane or the theme that represents it. So we have Ixalan. So you go back to find cards that worked with treasures or pirates or whatnot, and that should have been what should have been in the slots of those remastered sets. And so you get your kind of your taste of the new set and how it works with older cards in the Magic ecosystem. And again, that should have a massive event, and maybe not a pre-release or some. Yeah, it should have some sort of draft event or event that is played at the streaming level and the local game store level. And I think that would 100% would fix kind of this problem that we have with the overindulging, the FOMOing, and then the resentment of, okay, well, I didn't even use these cards, that we have in this weird ecosystem we call Magic the Gathering now. So I don't know, this has kind of turned, instead of a market video, into like a philosophical video of how Wizards of the Coast should create their product lines. I'm interested in how you as the consumer, because I see this as I think I have a unique perspective because I was an extremely competitive player. That's what got me into the scene. I started the whole Rogue deck builder, made the Pro Tour, was really, really competitive minded. I kind of called myself a Johnny Spike. I was more brew oriented. I wanted to compete my way, but I was still a Spike at heart. I still wanted to be competitive. And then so I was a store owner. And so I had that kind of perspective, seeing casuals and seeing other people's perspectives of how they play the game. But all in all, I think Wizards of the Coast has become a game that they really have tried so hard to market to the masses that they're no longer even marketing towards anyone. And I mean, that you've seen that with their really reaching out to IPs, which is something I need to talk about too on here, is be very careful with these. We have a couple of reprints down the line here with this Warhammer 40k Commander deck and Lord of the Rings Commander deck. If you see here on my spreadsheet, Warhammer Commander decks are selling for $205 right now. Which I can buy them for $160, which is a $45 difference. And Lord of the Rings are selling for $255, which is almost a $100 difference of what I can get them for. But these IPs, they're not going to stop, guys. They're going to continue to reprint these suckers. Every time we think that Warhammer's done, another wave comes. These are print to demand. Be extremely careful for Lord of the Rings and Warhammer. Buy them from me right now. Flip them if you want, or if you've been waiting for them, it's a good price to get on them. But don't expect these things to age long term if Wizards of the Coast is going to continue just to reprint them. And we can argue the pros and cons of those. IPs maybe should be in a different category because they're not affecting competitive play and whatnot. But all in all, they do have, like, Wizards of the Coast needs to respect people's purchases, and they need to respect the secondary market. Otherwise, they're going to kill their brand long term. Anyway, where was I going with what we were talking about? I think I've rambled for quite some time with this Market Monday, which turned into more of a, like I said, a philosophical thing on the route the Wizards of the Coast should go. But in all, I guess the conclusion of this video is this is a really positive sign with Caverns of Ixalan. The really good sales, the amount of decks. If you look at even EDH Rec, there's so many people building decks with a lot of cards that have come out of both the precons as well as of Lost Caverns of Ixalan. And there just seems to be a renewed vibrance of Magic the Gathering. It's so crazy how fast things keep shifting of like hot cold with Magic. But I don't know if we've turned a leaf. I still think that we have some tough times ahead, that's another thing I was going to talk about in this video, is now is like a really fun time to be if you have a play group, to be in Magic the Gathering. Something we did over the weekend is when I was actually able to get March of the Machines pre-release cases, so 15 pre-release kits for $105 out the door, and so that put them down to $1.16 a pack. So I did a dino-sized draft, which is using 4 draft boosters instead of 3, for some of my locals that were bored on a Friday night. I think, was it Friday or Saturday night? Yeah, we did Friday night. And we actually put together a draft for $5. So I was able to do a draft for $5, and everyone got their value back, and we were able to play some March of Machines draft. And if people wanted some cheap product to do drafting, well, you got it right now with even like Baldur's Gate. This is an super cheap time to kind of indulge in Magic for not the products that people want. And same thing, like the amount of products like Commander Blacks and Chandra's Spellbooks, and man, there's a lot of stuff that can be had for super dirt cheap. So it's a bad thing, but it's also kind of a really cool time to be a consumer, to be able to get these suckers for just absolutely dirt cheap if you just like opening packs and kind of playing and messing around with cards. So anyway, that's all I have for this week's episode of Market Monday. This has been all over the place. I apologize for my ramblings, but I think that's why you people watch me to begin with is kind of my off the cuff kind of rambles. So we'll get more organized in the future again as the holidays wind down. One thing that is good news for all of you, all our fans of me, is that like I'm actually having a lot more fun playing Magic, and especially looking at the market again. And it almost feels like there was a good year. It almost feels like a haze for me of just being so bitter towards Magic the Gathering, Wizards of the Coast. When you make it your job, and the finances are on the line, and Wizards of the Coast just keeps punching you in the nuts set after set with Commander Masters and Dominator Masters and Baldur's Gates, and this FOMOing and I can't get enough product week 1 and they dump it week 2, and like sometimes I overorder. I'm like, hey, I'm gonna be able to do, and then I end up selling things at a 20%, 30% loss, where my losses have been on certain sets were tens of thousands of dollars. Like all in all, like we're still doing good financially, but we have lost a ton of money here on kind of the shenanigans that's happened within the market, which I think was so unnecessary through Wizards of the Coast. I don't think anyone benefited. Like yes, people got cheaper game pieces, but that's even them, even the people that say that they feel better about that, when they themselves see their collection dwindle to nothing. I think that they go home at night and like cry at least one tear for the value that was there in their collection at one point. But anyway, I'm really digressing now on this video, but what I was trying to say is that it's starting to feel a little more vibrant about talking about Magic the Gathering, playing Magic the Gathering, having fun. Maybe a lot of it comes with I tried to play Lorcana. I really tried to get into Lorcana, and man, that game was so boring. So I think we're stuck with Magic. I've got a good 20 years under my belt. It's really part of my lifestyle, part of my I really enjoy playing it, and I want it to succeed. So through all the bitterness that you hear on this channel and on my other channels, it's just frustration out of the because I want things to go back to or want things to become something that I know it's potential of becoming. And there's just infinite potential in Magic the Gathering, in collectible card games, in kind of the culture and kind of the scene that I think is worth fighting for. So hopefully we can, turn that leaf. We can get back to a good market where stores can make money, people can be happy about their purchases, and Wizards of the Coast can continue to create a good product that has vision and has its own identity, which is still worrying with all these, IPs that are going around, where Wizards of the Coast might be salivating on, if they continue to just make so much money at Lord of the Rings, then, why focus on their own brand? But that's the last and final kind of caveat for Ixalan, is it proves that people still want Magic for Magic. And I guess I'll leave that there. I will see you guys in the next video. If you are interested in becoming a patron and getting on this action, you can always follow me on patreon.com/roguedeckbuilder. If you don't want us to support Patreon, we have other methods as well to sign up, and you get access to the Discord with a lot of other like-minded people that just love to talk Magic the Gathering and just card games and board games in general. Hope you all enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching.